So there's something wrong with the destination. Were you trying to stream it from your thing or something, CJ?
Yeah, I deleted it.
We might actually be on. Okay, we're on, but yeah, okay. So welcome in to Ciege and Destroy. This is week 8 we're going on. This is where we do our buys, our sells, and our holds. We have a special guest with us this week, and Kevin from Belly Up Fantasy Sports. He's the lead writer over there. Someone's work that I greatly admire and I've been a longtime fan of. How you doing tonight, Kevin?
I'm doing outstanding, and it's a real pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Kevin.
Well, I believe that I'm the most veteran guy that's in the Belly Up fold. And so I cover a lot of different things. Right now, I'm covering, of course, fantasy football. I put out an article every Friday, starts and sits. And during the baseball season, I'm a baseball guy first and foremost, and we have a baseball show that we do. And Vince and I, in fact, are doing a show tomorrow because the World Series is coming up. And so the Sports Stove show, and I will be a part of that. It starts at 7 Central. I will be coming on there at 7:40 to discuss the World Series. I'm really looking forward to that. So I'm just glad to be here, and I'm ready to talk some football.
Yeah, we really like having some guests on and someone else's perspective or opinion on different things too as well. And you just want to let people know where they can find you as well then?
Okay, so you can always find me. All of my articles are on the Belly Up Fantasy website, and you can go to Twitter or X or whatever the heck we're doing over there at Kevin62 WILSEA. I have a pretty solid following over there, and they have lots of people come and ask me starts and sits questions. And so so get over there on the X, Twitter, whatever, Kevin62 WILSEA. And we can discuss any topics that you're interested in. Just get a hold of me, and we will let it fly.
And we have our usual kind of thing, too. And you can go ahead and find me over on Twitter as well. At my handle here is TJ Sumter55. I'm also on like Sleeper or just by my name on Facebook or however you want to get a hold of me. I'm open and available for anyone that ever needs any kind of questions or anything like that about your fantasy leagues. And Ciege, we kind of skipped over you because of giving all the love to Kevin over here. But how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm good. You know, just enjoying the new company. It's good to have another perspective when you're talking about football because you never know.
So like usually we do 2 buys, 2 sells, and 1 hold for each of us. Since we have an extra guest this week, we're just going to do 1 of each. So first of all, we'll go do our buy, we'll do a sell, and then we'll do our hold. And then we kind of can discuss whatever. Is there any kind of news that you guys wanted to discuss or anything you guys wanted to talk about?
I mean, I'm always open to the discussing how bad the Jets are, but we do that every week. So
yeah, I was gonna say that's gonna be a weekly topic. Like we could almost run just a rundown on the Jets every single week. So we'll go with CJ first. Who's your first buy of this week?
So my first buy this week is going to be Kyle Pitts. And I know that's out of the ordinary because he hasn't been scoring a lot this season. He hasn't had a huge season as everybody was expecting him to coming into the season. Had no 20-point games this year based on the average points per league. But right now he's not that expensive. He should be a really good deal to buy. His targets are going up every week. He's averaging between 8 and 10 a game. He has a late 12-week bye, and his next 3 opponents are Tampa Bay, Dallas, and New Orleans. So he should get some targets and he should get some points. He hasn't had that many touchdowns either. They're going to Bijan, they're going to the receivers, and none to the tight end. But eventually, I believe that Kirk Cousins will get him the ball as they build more chemistry going deeper into the season. And because his buy is so low right now, I'm definitely buying on Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I was gonna say even what is it, like 3 weeks ago, before he's kind of had like these last couple of games where he's been solidly used. I think he even had a touchdown, but he was like it was kind of like people are calling for him to be dropped up to 3 weeks ago. So it's kind of like he kind of went from a drop to a pickup to like now to a buy. So it's kind of been a weird season so far for Kyle Pitts. How do you feel about that, Kevin?
Well, I'm loath to pat myself on the back, but I wrote an article that my starts and sits a couple weeks ago, of which Kyle Pitts was, in fact, on my list as a starter. And so since that's come out, he has done better. So I'm very, very happy to be able to help him out in that area. So hopefully he can keep it rolling, because he's been one of the more disappointing players coming into this year that I can remember. So I'm glad to see him getting it together. And but I'm glad he didn't do it this past week, because they were playing my Seattle Seahawks. There they are right there. And so I was very, very, very surprised. I even got on with Morgan on his show, because he's an Atlanta Falcons guy, and predicted the score. And I was completely and utterly off on that, glad to say. And so I'm glad he just waited 1 week. And I think he's going to be really, really effective going forward.
Okay. So kind of bouncing off of that, who is your buy this week?
My buy this week, I'm going to really throw out some coins out there, see what I can get, because my buy is none other than Patrick Mahomes.
Ooh.
And the reason why I say that is because everybody knows he's the golden boy, 6-0 and everything else in the real world. But in the fantasy realm, he has been a huge disappointment so far. With only 6 touchdowns, he's got 8 interceptions, and in fantasy, it has not gone well at all. So somebody that has him might be getting a little jittery. We're getting into the season and everything, and the guy might need some extra oomph a little bit. So I would try to see if I could pry him loose, because we all know that Patrick Mahomes is going to be the Patrick Mahomes that we know and love. And the next couple weeks, he's got Las Vegas coming up. They're awful against quarterbacks. And the week after that, Tampa Bay is the absolute worst team when it comes to fantasy quarterbacks. So these next 2 weeks are 2 weeks that he can really turn himself back into Mahomes. But if someone is really, really, really concerned about him, maybe you can make a deal to get him.
Yeah, I think maybe even a super flex league, you could probably even pry him from somebody. I don't know exactly what you what package together to get him, but I do feel exactly what you're saying. I feel like there's definitely some touchdown regression coming his way as well. There kind of was coming into the season. They've been facing a lot of injuries, and for the most part, he's really just been kind of a game manager back there for the Chiefs team, and they've been kind of just running the ball effectively and playing defense, kind of like a winning team should. How do you feel about that, CJ?
So, funny situation. I just got a trade this week for Patrick Mahomes. Somebody tried to trade me Patrick Mahomes and a wide receiver for Joe Burrow. And I thought long and hard about that trade. And I took it. I took it because, one, yes, Patrick Mahomes' numbers aren't that good, but I'm hoping that the Chiefs go out and get him a wide receiver, because there's plenty of them out in the market right now. That's one. And two, I like their offense. I like their chances to turn things around. So, yes, I did give up Joe Burrow for Patrick Mahomes, but I did get Joe Burrow plus another piece. I'm not going to say what that other piece is now. I'm waiting to see how that one pans out. But I'm a firm believer that Travis Kelce is coming back into his own. He's getting his targets. He's getting his catches. I do believe they're going to go out and get a wide receiver. Kareem Hunt is running the ball, so they're not just going to stack the box, waiting for it to just a rush on Patrick Mahomes. So with him having a running game and Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming back, I do think that they have a good chance of putting up some numbers. So I bet it all on Patrick Mahomes this week. But I do have a winning record, so I can take that chance in that league. What about you, Trav?
So kind of bouncing into, I guess I kind of went over my Patrick Mahomes kind of take, but yeah, I definitely kind of can feel that buy. And then getting another wide receiver, I think, is definitely on the table. I don't know if it's necessarily 100% a sure thing that that's what they're going to do. I don't think they're really like in a panic mode, being 6-0 right now. So like I could see them kind of waiting to play it out, or they're going to do it at the very last second. But there's at least 10 wide receivers that are currently being talked about being available on various teams. Christian Kirk, Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp's name's been thrown out there. I honestly, like, the cheapest is probably Adam Thielen out of the bunch for them, and I think he would make actually like a really great addition with Patrick Mahomes, especially when we're talking about down the stretch going into the playoffs. He's a sure-handed wide receiver for Patrick Mahomes, and definitely someone that I could definitely see if the Chiefs ain't looking to totally invest into somebody. Adam Thielen would definitely be like the perfect wide receiver complement to put in that offense. I believe anyway. Going into my first buy of the week, it's kind of a 2-for-1, but buying both the Dolphins wide receivers, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And the main reason for that is because the production's down. Everything about that Dolphins offense is down. The one bright spot that they have coming back is Tua Tagovailoa, and he might even be back as soon as this week. The schedule, for the most part, is kind of opening up. Even the Bills defense for the Dolphins can be beatable. But the next 4 games, they have a pretty beatable defenses for their wide receivers as well. Tua has really propped up these wide receivers compared to what we've seen other quarterbacks be able to do. So, really, that whole offense runs through Tua, and my biggest concern with the wide receivers is that Tua could get hurt again. But I'm willing to roll the dice and kind of take that chance on these wide receivers because we know how elite Tyreek Hill is, and we know how good Jalen Waddle can be. And those guys are both, top-tier wide receivers when they have Tua under the helm. How do you guys feel about those?
If you can get somebody to make a move on either one of those guys, I think that would be worth it. And Tua, I've got the same concerns about him. I'm hoping that he will stay healthy. But if he is healthy, and I think that he can be, and if he's in there, then both of these wide receivers take a huge step up. And may not want to advertise that a whole lot because if you do, then these guys' buys go down. But if you could get somebody to sell you these guys, I would be in on it.
Yeah, I'm going to say I'll buy on Tyreek, but I won't buy on Waddle. I've never been a big Waddle fan. I think he's average at best. It's sort of like his value is higher than his production. So people value Waddle at a 1 when he's really a 2, but they try to put the 1 value on him in a trade. So because of that, I wouldn't buy Waddle, but Tyreek is a definite 1, so I'm buying him every time I get a chance to buy him. So for me, I will agree and disagree with buying one and not buying the other, just based off of value. Because coming out the gate, when you say, hey, I want to buy Waddle from you, they're going to ask you for one of your top wide receivers in return. And the whole point of buying Waddle is so that you can shore up maybe your bench, or shore up 1 or 2 of your starters. So why am I giving you 2 or 3 bench players that I need for a player that's a wide receiver too, and that isn't even going to be the deep threat on the team.
Yeah, I just feel like the buy value. I guess it kind of depends on where somebody kind of drafted him and how they feel about where Waddle is at the moment. I don't know. I guess it kind of depends on the manager and what the manager wants, but I could definitely see where you're coming from. Where there's probably a lot invested in there, and they probably do feel the way like you're kind of talking about a lot of times with Jalen Waddle probably being perceived as a wide receiver one. He hasn't even found the end zone, and it's been like over a year now, I think, since he's found the end zone. So he's kind of on a real bad touchdown drought as well. So I could definitely feel where you're coming from. I don't think I'd necessarily buy him for even a 2 price. Almost, it would almost have to be like 2 wide receiver 4s for Waddle and something, just something else where I could just package him. I'm not sending much for him at all, but I definitely could buy Tyreek, though. I definitely would be more in on Tyreek than Waddle. So moving on to your first sell of the week, we'll kind of switch things up here, and I'll just go to CJ on this one. Who's your first sell of the week?
So my first sell of the week is going to be a low sell, but he had a good game this week. If you watched the Denver game, he looked like he was coming into his own this week. My first sell of the week is going to be Javonte. I'm selling Javonte. I'm selling him for a decent running back in return. I'm not talking Zach Moss. I'm talking like a Chase Brown, something around that valuation, because Javonte still has followers. He still has lovers that will pine for him every single day. He hasn't had a great game. His first 6 weeks were average at best, but he had a great game this week. That offense is coming together. But his next 3 opponents are Carolina, which is a good opponent for him, Baltimore, and Kansas City, with Atlanta on the back end of that. So there's a lot of hype on him from last year. Coming into this season, there was some hype, especially with Bo Nix and a new head coach and the whole, ground and pound offense that they have. And again, he looked really good this game. He was running through tackles, arm tackles. He was running over players. So if I can get something from him, wide receiver 2, maybe 3, backup running back from my bench, because he's not going to start unless you have to start him, then I'm definitely going to be selling on Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree. He was actually someone that I was really considering as a sell of my week too. After that really big game, I had him in a couple leagues. I actually started him in a couple leagues. One was kind of out of desperation. The other one was just kind of, let's just throw him in there. Let's just see what kind of happens, especially after what happened with Tampa Bay against the Saints the previous week. So I felt like he might kind of have a good game, so I threw him in there. But I also seen in different leagues where players. He wasn't even players starting lineup last week against that game against the Saints, just because you've honestly not been able to trust them for the most part. How do you kind of feel about that, Kevin?
Well, it's kind of interesting because a self-promotion here, because in my sits article, I have him listed as a start this week simply because of who they're playing. And Siege, I think you got a good point that if you're going to try and sell him, the clock's ticking, because after this week, he's got 2 tough opponents, as you mentioned. And so if you can't get him somebody, to bite on him either this week or next week, then I don't think that could happen. So if you're looking to sell him, I would try and get it done in the next couple weeks, because the tough opponents are coming and his price is going to go way down. So if you could get somebody to bite on him right now, I would certainly look into that.
Yeah, then I know I'm not sure exactly where the Ravens are, but I'm pretty sure they're a top 10 run defense, and I'm pretty sure the Kansas City Chiefs are the number 1 run defense in the NFL right now. So that's definitely a good point to get rid of them right now. Who's your first sell this week, Kevin?
My first sell is going to be Tank Bixby of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He had a huge week this past week. And because, as we all know, Travis Etienne was missing in that game in London. And so, but he's supposed to be back, from what I understand. Travis Etienne is, and so I am not a big guy when it comes to splits committees when it comes to running backs, and so he's going to take a step back, even though he's got Green Bay this week, and they're terrible at run defense, but split backfields, like I said, I'm not into that. So if I could get someone to buy him at the price that he's generating coming off of this week, I would certainly look into doing that and see if I can get a wide receiver maybe for him. And before Etienne is confirmed to be back, so this is next couple of days, I would certainly be looking to get rid of him right now.
Yeah, I think I totally agree that whole Jacksonville Jaguars offense is the whole team is pretty much kind of a mess. I mean, yeah, they played New England, so what? You know, everybody's doing their thing on New England right now because it's New England right now. I definitely agree. Take Bigsby. Unless Travis Etienne's name really starts popping off in the trade market here, there's no reason to take Bigsby on your team for, you know, when you could get something else more valuable for him. Kind of like a player like CJ mentioned, which is like Chase Brown. Like if I could get Chase Brown for him, I'd definitely go ahead and do that because there's still some people that believe that Trevor Lawrence can carry an offense and Tank Bigsby can be usable week in and week out. And some people don't want to deal with that mess of ETN being there and then Bigsby being there and then they even have Johnson in there, Dearness Johnson in there. So I definitely agree on that one. How do you feel about that one, CJ?
So this one I'm going to disagree. I'm on the Tank Bigsby bandwagon at this point. TJ, you set it up a couple of weeks ago when you were buying him, and I agreed with you then. It's a good running back, but I'm not sold on Travis Etienne. I believe in young running backs having great success their first year. You have no tape on him. You don't know which way he's going to run. You don't know what line of sight he's going to use. As long as the offensive line can give him a hole, he's going to break through it. This is his first year as a running back. Even in a split backfield, it works in Detroit. I mean, with Montgomery and with Gibbs, there's no way to say that it's not going to work here. 99% of the time, it doesn't work. But I don't think it's going to be a split backfield. I think Bigsby is going to get more touches than Etienne. Etienne is going to get more touches early. Bigsby is going to get all the touches late because Bigsby runs harder. He runs through the hole faster, and he makes quicker decisions. So for me, this one time, I'm going to have to disagree.
Yeah, this is actually his second year in the league, but I think he was pretty limited last year in his actual playing time, and his I think he had an ankle injury last year that kind of limited him through the year. So, but I mean, this is kind of like his full go show out kind of moment, if you will. He's kind of getting more and more work. He looks when he's in the game. It's kind of like the Zeke Elliott, Tony Pollard thing from a couple of years ago, where he's looking more like the Pollard in the offense, and so I could definitely see where you're kind of coming from. I'm just not sure how much it's sustainable with how bad the Jacksonville Jaguars are as a whole. That's my biggest concern with the whole thing. So I definitely could see both sides of that, if you will. My first sell of the week, just moving on, is George Pickens. Probably a surprise, and that's probably a hot take. Main reason is it looked great. Russell Wilson. Sorry, Kevin. Russell Wilson.
Hey,
for all intents
speak
and
well of
purposes,
Wilsons in general, all right? But especially Russell. Okay?
Russell Wilson, for all intents and purposes, it looked great. He looked great against the Jets. The deep ball has never left Russell Wilson. I've always been on that 100%. Russell Wilson can throw that deep ball, and maybe better than anybody else in the league at this moment. He's never lost that in his game. My thing with selling George Pickens is probably because if you feel like someone feels like that kind of production is going to continue, I don't think you would have any problem packaging him and getting yourself a more proven more elite wide receiver one from a team. I feel like you could almost get CeeDee Lamb in a package for him right now. I don't think you have any problem doing that. Putting him and Wan'Dale Robinson in a package for CeeDee Lamb, I don't think you have any problem getting that. To me, I always want the actual like stud, top 5, sure thing wide receiver on my starting lineup week in and week out. I can worry about depth later because players get hurt, players get injured, and you can just always pick somebody new up. It's just working that grind. That's all you have to do. How do you feel about that, CJ?
I'm in the middle. I see what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. But that boy could play. Like, he has talent. He can catch a ball. He can break a tackle. I'm not sold on Russell Wilson. They played a bad – I mean, it's the Jets. I mean, you can't really go by what Russell Wilson did against a Jets defense that's not really a Jets defense because Saleh's not there anymore. So I can't really go by that. I'll reserve judgment on that front, but I have to say, watching him play this week and watching them play this entire season, because I'm on Red Zone every Sunday, I'm sold on Pickens. So basically, unless I'm getting a Puka Nacua, a Justin Jefferson, a Jamar Chase, like I need a Tyreek Hill, unless I'm getting something like that in return, I'm tempted to hold on to Pickens more than I am to selling him. But again, depending on the price, because somebody comes to me with the right price, I'll sell anybody.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like if I could get myself CeeDee Lamb, if we were just talking about one of my buys, like if I'm buying Tyreek Hill, I have no problem probably sending George Pickens off for Tyreek Hill at this point.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Kevin?
Well, I believe I'm going to go on the other camp and say that I'm keeping Pickens, and this is why, because he's had 2 different quarterbacks so far this year, as we all know, and the targets he's had, except for one poor week, he's had 7, 7, 11, 7, 8, 9. He's got the Giants this week, and then Washington the week after that, after a bye week. So unless I get completely blown, my door's blown off, there's no chance that I'm going to trade Pickens. And you just happen to stumble into another starter I'm going to have on my article this week. And so I'm going to have to disagree vehemently on this one. That like Ciege, unless you said, unless I'm blown away, I'm not selling Pickens.
Yeah. I just don't think it's impossible to sell him high at the moment, and that's kind of what my strategy usually is in leagues, is to sell high. And I think if you're going to sell high, this is the ultimate sell high moment for him. Everybody had their eyes on that game Monday night or Sunday night, I mean. So like I just feel like if you were able to get something relatively elite for him, that's kind of where I'm at with it. And we'll just go on to our next thing, is our holds. And who are you holding this week, Kevin?
Well, the guy that I'm holding on to is running back Aaron Jones of the Minnesota Vikings. And the reason why I say that is because he's got 93 yards or more in 4 games. And so he's got the Rams this week at 23, Indianapolis at 21, Jacksonville at 24. It doesn't get any better than that as far as opponents are concerned. And Minnesota, they suffered their first loss, so I think that they're going to be extra motivated. They're going to be get this run game reestablished, and so I really, really, really like Aaron Jones. His price, I think, is pretty high right now, but I'm going to, unless as you mentioned, my skirt's blown up, I am not going to get rid of Aaron Jones.
Could you imagine how dynamic the Packers offense would truly be if they would have held on to Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs in that offense? Like, oh my God, it would be mind blowing, really. Like, and I think they would both be fantasy. Ciege, who is your first holder this week?
So my hold for this week is going to be controversial for us on this show. You ready?
Ready.
Garrett Wilson.
Ooh.
I'm holding Garrett Wilson.
Okay. I would as well. Just throw it in there. I would as well. Not just because he's a Wilson either.
I'm holding Garrett Wilson for a couple of reasons. One, everybody after the Devontae Adams trade was like, we have to trade him. We have to get rid of him. All over sleeper. We have to get rid of him. His targets are going to go down. His targets going down is a good thing. He had 23 targets in a game. That is ridiculous. His targets going down and Devontae Adams catching all those double teams, the safety over the top, leaves him open in the slot for him to catch all those passes he just caught against Pittsburgh and maybe break one. His past week, he only scored, depending on the scoring in your sleeper app, 13 points. But he had 9 targets, 5 receptions, and as he gets more on the same page with Rodgers and as he learns from Devontae Adams and as that offense starts to get into their groove a little bit more, as Rodgers starts understanding that he has to take the short pass, because that's what happened. If you watch that game on Sunday, he would always go for that deep pass. He would miss it wide or throw an interception when there was a man cutting right down the middle 5 yards down that he could have dumped off the pass to, and that could have got him a first down. As he starts to realize that and starts to realize Garrett Wilson is that out target, his numbers are going to increase. He already has 3 touchdowns for the year. I don't see his touchdown numbers increasing by that much, but I can see him ending up with 7 or 8. Those are numbers that you can really use on your fantasy football team, especially in redraft. So I'm holding Garrett Wilson. He's basically like, in my eyes, he's basically like Jordan Addison. He's that number 2 that can come through for you at any given point because that number 1 is drawing so much coverage. The only difference is the number 1 for Minnesota is scoring touchdowns, and Devontae Adams hasn't done anything in this past week for the Jets. But eventually he will, and when he does, it opens up. What do you guys think?
I definitely agree. Like, and I think we kind of touched on it last week as well when the trade actually happened earlier in the day. Is that we kind of actually really kind of like this for Garrett Wilson. I mean, he was kind of already being wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 kind of range, and we figured kind of like almost more or less propped him up to get Devontae Adams, or at least kept them the same at the very minimum. So, like, I definitely am on board with the hold. How do you feel about that, Kevin?
Well, Siege, if I was with you right now, I would high five you, okay? Because I am completely and utterly in on this, and not, as I mentioned, not just because he's a Wilson, but I think that everything is stacked up in his favor because everybody's going to be, falling down over Devontae Adams and everything else, and he's going to get coverage, as you mentioned, and Wilson is whatever else you can say about the Jets offense. Wilson is a quality wide receiver. And so I think that at some point, somebody in that camp is going to have to say, hey, we need to do something with the offense. Garrett Wilson needs to be a part of that, and he will be. And his touchdowns have to increase to the mean. So I am really, really in on this one.
Yeah, so and then moving on, my first hold of the week is going to be David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns. Simple reason being, you got Jameis Winston coming into the lineup. It's YOLO Winston all day. He's going to chuck it down there to David Njoku. Whenever he sees Njoku, if it's going to single coverage, double coverage, it doesn't matter. We know Jameis Winston's going to just throw it down there and heave it to him. Just kind of basing off, even the last game, David Njoku, and we'll kind of talk about too, like Amari Cooper being absent from the offense as well. But David Njoku this last week had 10 for 76 and a score. And we talk about, when he was absent, Deshaun Watson last year and Joe Flacco stepped in the lineup down the stretch. He was averaging like 6 targets or 6 catches, 80 yards and, a touchdown most games. So, I mean, like, I feel like that's definitely something that we can see continue for this Cleveland Browns offense, was David Njoku being the main focal point, because Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore, they flashed at times, but they are nowhere near it. They're wide receiver fives at best, and David Njoku is the surefire thing on this team. This team's going to run through Nick Chubb and David Njoku, so he's my big hold of the week. How do you guys feel about that, Kevin?
I'm all in on that. As I'm looking at this, as you mentioned, he had 10 catches, but he had 14 targets. That's just one less than he had in the three games he's played. And so the whole offense is going to be better without Deshaun Watson. He's a Clemson guy. I'm a Clemson guy, but all the things that's happened with him, I think everybody's going to relax. It's been 2 tenths in that locker room, 2 tenths on the field. Njoku and Chubb, as you mentioned, they're about all Cleveland has. And Jameis Winston is been around. He knows how to play the game. So he's going to get that ball to Njoku a lot. And so if I had him, and the tight end position has been poison ivy pretty much throughout the land. And so if you've got somebody like Njoku, I couldn't imagine what kind of trade offer I would get that would entice me to get rid of him. So if I had him, he's staying on my team.
Yeah, I agree. I'm all in on Njoku too, mainly because of the Jameis Winston coming in now. With Jameis coming in, did you guys take a look at Juwan Johnson's numbers from last year? Jameis loves a tight end. Just does. Especially a big body tight end. Cooper's gone. Jerry Jeudy really hasn't done anything since he came into the league, let's just be honest. And Elijah Moore, the ex-Jet, bye-bye, don't need you. You don't do anything either. So at the end of the day, I will hold Atkins too, because like you said, this tight end landscape this year has been dreary. Schultz really rarely does anything per week. He gets you a couple of points, maybe 7 or 8. Ferguson doesn't do anything. Kelsey just woke up. Andrews just woke up. So yeah, if I'm you, I'm holding on to Atkins too. I mean, not Atkins, excuse me, Njoku too.
Yeah, what my thing too is, if you actually look at their upcoming schedule through pretty much the rest of the whole season, they have tight end friendly matchups week after week after week after week, except for maybe week 17 it is maybe. But that could change by the time we get there. But if you look on your sleeper app and you pull up the tight end matchups, it's all green for the most part. Definitely someone rest of the season that I'd definitely be into. Winston coming in, definitely almost even buying Njoku at this point. Anyway, I think that does it. That was all our buys, sells, and holds. One more time, you kind of want to tell everybody where they can find you at, Kevin?
As I mentioned on Twitter or X at Kevin62 WILSDA. I'm also on Facebook, because I am an older guy, so I am on there. And I'm on Sleeper. I got 4 separate leagues. I think all of us in Belly Up are required to have at least 4 leagues on there. And so I'm on there. And so, like I said, if any questions, you can shoot them my way. I'm also I post a lot on Reddit, and so if you're a Reddit fan and the fantasy football advice, I'm on there as well. So you can catch me in any of those places.
Yeah, and also those great start set articles like we were talking, and you also fulfill everybody's baseball needs. I definitely look forward to your show talking about the World Series coming up too, and then the future articles that you'll have coming out. Everything that you always put out is great. I'm a great admirer of your work. I think I've preached that multiple times.
Yes, yeah, I appreciate the kind words. I tell you that much.
Yeah,
I put a lot of work into that.
Even as far back, just being completely out in the open here, even as far back as being with a previous group, they're like, who's one guy that you madly respect and you love over on that side. And your name was always the first name that I had brought up over there. So it was great to have you on here tonight. We really appreciate it. Hopefully, we can have you on again soon. Maybe even as soon as next week if you're available.
Just ask and I'll show.
All right, Ciege, where can everybody find you again?
So I'm on X at the Siege. On Sleeper, I am at the Siege 24. I have way more than 4 leagues. I'm in about 68.
That's just on Sleeper. I'm on 4. So
just being honest, I'm in about 68. That includes my all my concept leagues that I run or I join, which all my concept leagues are going to be out. I'm going to be doing my concept live streams and podcasts over the off season to just inform people about what they're about, the rules, and so on and so forth. So look out for that. And on YouTube, it's at the Siege Belly Up.
68, man. You really cut down this year, didn't you?
Yeah, I was at 147 last year.
I could try that, but I'd probably lose my vision if I was in 68 league.
Oh, it takes me about 2 hours to set lineups.
Yeah, I was gonna say I couldn't imagine. I do 25. It takes me 2 hours just to do waivers, so I couldn't imagine spending, probably 3 hours, 4 hours doing waivers, and then going ahead and taking me 4 hours to also set lineups as well. So anyway, I'm at TJ Sumter 55. I'm also on X, Twitter, if you will. Old school like Kevin over here on Facebook as well. You can also find me on Sleeper. I just wanted to thank Belly Up for giving us this platform to bring the fantasy content to you guys. We really appreciate you guys in the fantasy community. And we're here to give you the tools to help you win your league. If you guys have any questions, just reach out to us. We'll be glad to help you. If not, you guys have a great week, and hopefully you guys are on the winning side of things. Peace.
See you later.
See you later.
I think we're still going.